I'm a foodie. I can't live without a good homemade food.
Admittedly, I'm one also, and that's what we're so excited about. On today's episode, we have Dr. Sherry Zhang. Sherry is the founder of Geno Palate. Geno Palate offers personalized nutrition powered by your DNA. In today's episode, we're going to discuss the evolution of dietary customer choices and the entrepreneurial spirit to solve society's problems. Can you discuss your background and what has inspired you to pursue a career in nutrition and genomics?
Hi, Ron. Thank you for having me. Super excited about our conversation. It's a great question. It's always the whys behind everything we do, especially for entrepreneurship, right? I think my why, we talk about this, in our previous meetings and conversations. I'm a problem solver. At my heart, and knowing what I know, the know-hows for using genomics technology to drive food decisions, to eventually, because I studied, as you know, obesity metabolic syndrome with the person who coined the metabolic syndrome for us. The pear and the apple shape is my mentor's theory, Dr. Kasiba. He was pretty big in obesity, founding the obesity research domain for us, and he's no longer with us. So I studied did my research as a junior and a senior scientist at the Medical College of Wisconsin, and really fascinated always, still today, how unique we all are at the genetic level, and also the gene expression when you respond to the environment, such as food, such as air quality, social, who you talk to, are you happy or stressed, right? So we're all experiencing all that. That's really the problem I saw as a geneticist for obesity is, number one, obesity is still on the rise. It didn't come down, and today we're still dealing with it, with more people affected, right? So that's a big problem. And I do think I have a big solution, which is everybody eats multiple times. Everybody has a genome. And there's not enough. Before, probably 10, 15 years ago, we cannot even dream of what we can do today, access your own genomic information to drive those decisions for your optimal health. But today we can, right? So, the research society can access that with pretty lofty expenses in the lab, but that's how it started. Now we can actually provide to everybody. So this direct to consumer model really works. So that's kind of the big whys. And I can dive into personal stories too.
Yeah. Could you just talk a little bit about kind of your educational background? I think it's very interesting in terms of, entrepreneurship and things like that. People have various backgrounds, but there's usually some kind of drive, some kind of, like, as you alluded to, there's some kind of why as to what they want to offer or what problem they want to solve. So can you just talk a little bit about your background and how you began your entrepreneurial journey?
Sure. Yeah. A little bit on myself. I grew up in northern China, beautiful city. Boston always reminded me my mother tongue. And then, really very fortunate to have a loving family. I'm a single child because the policy at the time. So all the love and care and hope is on me, and supported me to be a very curious person. And I think curiosity is really the thread to drive me to wherever I am, whatever I do, whoever I meet. It's what if this, why that, right? So, curious kid, and then got my bachelor's degree in microbiology, bacteria, virus. Now, the whole society is, paying attention to that because COVID and microbiome in our gut. So that's fabulous. And I got a fellowship at Marquette University. That's kind of the location-wise how I transported myself to the other side of the world. So my background is, that's what makes this our country so great, right? People from anywhere, as long as you have curiosity, you have drive, you work hard, you have a dream, and there's a place for you. And I think I kind of lived through that, the American dream in my own narrative. So really happily educated, received education at Marquette for graduate school. So I got my PhD in molecular biology at Marquette. This is decades ago. And I really just want to creating new knowledge from the lab. That's my know-how, and share that, publish it, talk about it in the conferences, on the stage, and review evidence, data-driven approach always, and solve problems. As we talk about, it's obesity using genomics. Now, when I enter my workforce, so to speak, that was a fascinating time. That was about 5 years into the first human genome was fully assembled, sequenced. If you remember, in 2001, that's the first publication. But that's just the rudimental first reference. Now, not until last year, two years ago, we have a new updated version of it. So we continue to get into all the human genome dark spaces, so to speak. But we found, 25, 30,000 genes fully sequenced. Lots of them are well characterized. So I kind of ride on the wave of the whole humanity, even this new resource started to open up. So I was entered into that and into my discipline pretty early on. And then in my lab, we were really innovators of the space, and we have tons of great resources, very unique resources, such as big pedigrees, big family. So you use a family to study genomics, and also they share the same households. What do they eat? Where do they go? Do they exercise? All these life habits are relatively controlled or similar. So we can use that to, study very complex health issues or disease models such as obesity. So it's a great resources and great minds, as I share. Had a lot of fun. So long story short, I watched 23andMe as the first platform wants to provide that direct to home, direct to you self-care sort of wellness or health care from genomic perspective using your genetic information. And Ancestry use that for building your pedigree, the genealogy side, which is very curious and interesting and useful. You can find your people, relatives or family members you never met. So watching innovative platforms that develop this new concept where we could provide individuals at home the direct access to their genomic information for genealogy, health, nutrition, and so on and so forth. That was really innovative and opened my mind a lot about how can we apply all this fantastic growing body of information from genomic side in health to people, me included, right? So I think as entrepreneurs, we all, the successful ones, they ask the question first is how do I become that customer? How do I be benefited from the solution I'm going to create for the world? And I encourage people, if that's not your model, incorporate that into your model of creating a company or solution. Because only when you are the customer of your products and services of creation, you can be the best judge for that, for your work. So I use every single thing I pushed out to release to the world, good or bad or ugly. But I'm the first tester. I'm the guinea pig because I believe in what I offer. We offer now is the team behind me or supporting us at Geno Palate. It solve my problem. If it does, it will solve millions of problems. So that's kind of where this plant the seed around. Hope that answers some of your questions.
Absolutely, yeah, it's fascinating. So I just a little on my background. I grew up in a small town, and we had a pizza place and an Italian restaurant, and that was the extent of what we knew about food and that type of thing, learning about macronutrients and how to balance your biomarkers and things like that. The possibilities for my children, I have 3 children that I just, it's exciting. It's exciting to know that, when they're adults and they're in charge of their own nutrition, that they'll have the information available to them, that, they'll be able to feed their families and take care of themselves in a way that, wasn't previously available. I find your solution fascinating. And, from a retail standpoint in our store, we really look forward to some type of partnership where we can kind of offer your solution to our customers. Can you talk a little bit about what that would look like, the kits that you would offer to the customer, and some of the how your website and how the nutrition recommendations work?
Sure. Happy to. Thank you for sharing the mission. And one of the reasons I think I told you last time of me doing this forever, devoted myself is really for my son. I have one son. I really want 3, but stop at 1. To our next generation to have all the tools that we may not even have when we're younger, and they can make those decisions early on. So very resonating with your statement. So how does it work? And I think because we are from day one, as I kind of alluded, everything is direct to consumer. We made a very robust e-commerce site, website with information, education, and how do you take on the offer. So if anyone wants to take a look of Geno Palate's offering, please just go to genopalate.com. And it's really self-explanatory there. But I'm happy to walk through it's very easy and actually fun process to onboard with us. And we used to use saliva, so never blood, never involved in the sampling. But 2-3 years ago, we actually changed to a more sensitive and also better experience, which is swabbing. So you could literally use, cotton swab and then swab inside of your mouth. We get the DNA from your epithelial, which is pretty sensitive and robust. And then you put it into a certain buffer solution we provide when you buy the kit, when you order online, and then drop ship or pre-labeled will be sent back to our lab, which is a CLIA lab, the best standard for doing processing genomic information and other specimens, and then process it. So think about this big proprietary algorithm, big brain of Geno Palate, so to speak, on the server, very secure, very private space, dedicated to analyzing your very unique DNA. And we'll be able to pull those, we call it the SNPs. Those are single nucleotide polymorphisms, pretty much the mutation when your ancestors in responding to their food environment and others, mostly food, versus mine. When we compare our results as the blueprint, genome, when you're born into this world, there's 3 million differences. The letters A, T, G, C. We remember our, high school biology classes. So we read those differences. What's on, for example, if there's an obesity locus, we have lots of them. For round, you may have a T allele, I have an A allele. And then you have 2 of them because one's from your mother, one's from father. We talk about heritage. It's literally in our genes. I may have 2 different copies. And then we associate that based on clinical trials. What do you eat when you have that genotype will give you what kind of a risk for hypertension, for triglycerides, for obesity, and so on and so forth. And then we, in our report, which when you go through this process, we do most of the work, and then 3 to 5 weeks later, we'll be able to give you your personal Geno Palate. We call the Essential Nutrition Report. That's the first report with 3 sections. One is covering 27 nutrients, whether you just talk about from micronutrients to macros, fiber, protein. What is the unique proportions for those macros for you that stage you for your best success with your wellness? Or what kind of zinc or alcohol use, caffeine intake will be best suitable for your body. Different people metabolize the same food differently. And that's the whole point here. So we'll give you all the insights. Recently, we also enrich our insights with 2 other reports. When you adopt Geno Palate, you'll get all their insights through our mobile app or web app if you access on your PC or pads. So the second report is eating behavior. Very interesting insights and pretty unique in the field. And then the third one is stress reports. Coming out of the COVID, stress level of our society is really high. And then we focus on the eating behavior side of the stress so people can understand why there's emotional stress eating, more running in the family, and how do we, mitigate that risk. And then as you, kind of share nicely when we collaborate with you, I always say food is medicine. It's the best medicine, right? It's natural. It's good. When you make the right choices, you don't need the medicine when you eat right. So we want to work with you to deliver exactly that experience and system so that your, Murphy's shoppers and guests will be able to make those decisions at where, the food is provided. So that's one on the whole food side. So we'll be able to help map out or navigate the shopping experience with the insights that they never had before, informed by genetics and beyond. We're not only analyze your genetics, we also incorporate your BMI, which is obesity metrics, and health and food behavior, exercise in inputs, which we will ask you through a questionnaire. And as you also shared, we recently last year, we launched a very unique line of products. We actually provide your own formula, freshly made, usually run the batch 90-day supply so that you can establish your balance in your body with micronutrients. These are formulated for you based on our genetic and non-genetic insights from you. It's not assortments of, those co-packs as some other industry providers provide. They call it personalized nutrition or vitamins. It's true to the claim, but ours is a different level. We actually formulate that at the molecular level for that person. And then your bottle will have your name on it. So it's a very personalized experience. And from our data about running over a year, because before we have another partner to co-brand that. So the experience is the same and formula is ours. We know that people, when they have their personal formula, they will more likely to stay on it and be benefited from that. Some are significant segments of our people will stay on the program for however long we have it. Right? I think it speaks to the power of the people engaged with their own personalized and genetic identity for wellness in our product line. And I'm very happy, and you know that we're launching very soon a protein and fiber plant-based blend. It's also informed by people's genetic. That's our effort to make it even more comprehensive solution. So you cover all the micronutrients with our vitamins and minerals, and now you can deal with your food intake with protein fiber, which are the two still most deficient American foods. And on top of that, I would really love to work with you and your chef team to complement all these with whole foods, and for people who want to cook at home, and maybe we can cook for them in your kitchen and they can pick up. And I'm a foodie. I can't live without a good homemade food.
Admittedly, I'm one also, and that's what we're so excited about. This is just hearing some of the research, and this isn't a fad or a trend. This is real science. This is real hard, data and actionable insights that scientists are reading. This isn't just some fad that you're reading off of a nutrition bottle or something like that. So I think that's where our customers are really going to buy in and really going to love the solution that you guys offer. Currently, you mentioned the vitamin line that you had launched and some of the personalized recommendations. Can you talk a little bit about your growth into Publix and some of the supermarkets in the country?
Yeah. And as you know, Murphy's is one of our early partners in this, so very exciting. We're really defining this category. If you search it up and people haven't seen, I call it a shop for your genes, right? So our tagline is eat for your genes, and we've been running this for 5-6 years, and there's an industry shaped up named personalized nutrition, but that's really an umbrella concept. It could be personalized with a survey, and we are the next level. We have a survey, we have a DNA, we're the leading platforms in the US and the world. And there's other ways. For example, there's a continuous glucose monitoring, right? The patch system. It's expensive to adopt for well patients, but if insurance pay for them for some reason, people monitoring their diabetes level and sugar level, then that makes sense to using that also to inform some sort of food decisions. So that's also part of personalized nutrition as well.
Sherry, how have you seen customer choices evolve over the years in terms of their nutrition and how they feed their families?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we actually went through this called, based on a lot of data companies analysis, this called Great Ages of Healthy, right? So we can all resonate. We grew up with it. For example, from the first, we call it Nutrition 1.0, just to structure that in a very memorable picture. We're talking about early 90s to, all the way through 2000. So we're talking about 15 to 20 years of time where this is, we're being bombarded with all the trends and ads about, okay, low carb first for a while, right? This is the weight loss kind of, time. Our upper generations and when we're young.
Yep. I'm thinking of Atkins and South. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Atkins and South Beach and all the, I remember all those kind of fad diets. Seemed like a new book every week that was coming out with
exactly.
With
and then they rotate, right? So it's usually, a lot of research going into or corroborate all this theory. First and bigger trend is low carb. We figured out carb has a lot of energy. Everybody getting, bigger BMI. It's not healthy, heart problems, and so on, right? So this is the early stage of this metabolic syndrome epidemic. And then we started to, unfortunately, this is where I'm getting into a rabbit hole with food industry with you. But, because some big companies, they want to sell their really delicious high carb, high sugar, like a cereals, for example, and they are behind this new trend saying, wow, ditch low carb. Let's go low fat because makes sense. Low fat will lead to your low fat in the body. But now we know that's completely wrong, right? We need healthy fat. We actually thrive on healthy fat. It's always in moderation, but so is carb. Carb is actually sugar. We're talking about processed food, and sugar is actually more detrimental to fats. So that trend is really misleading. But the whole thing lasts for almost 2 decades. Now we call it the ages of Nutrition 1.0. Okay, and then kind of it will continue, and then there's still weight loss and low carb, low fat labels, as you know, and some are reasonable and some are useful. But then they started this movement called feel good foods. That's a Nutrition 2.0. And you live through all of these through your effort, right? There's a clean label, good for me, good for the planet, positive, stay local, eat local, natural. I'm a believer of that. I try to do as much. So the 2.0 starting that thread and continue. We still have a lot of those, and that's wonderful. And then the beginning of 2010 started this trend for nutrition 3.0, which is the superfoods. It's actually the functional foods trend, right? So the blueberries of the world and performance. This is where people started to realize we have needs for more protein and fiber and a lot of performance athletic drinks and powders, right? So that's really the 3.0 examples. And then it comes to the 4.0. Guess what that is? It's personalized nutrition. That's what we do, right? So we're not a trending company. As you know from our conversation, I based off science. I was a professor, but trying to solve this problem from the science angle. But at the same time, people started to realize one size fits all won't fit everybody, right? I'm unique. Just look at us. You and I look, beautifully unique, and our needs are different. And then when it comes down to health, especially metabolic health, dietary related, chronic diseases related, we just have to eat for our own body. So the personalization, we're talking about personalized experience, preferences. Where can you shop? Where do you live, and so on. It's not just genetic; it's one layer, a very very foundational layer for personalization. But there's much more to it. So that's the nutrition 4.0. When I'm biased, but I'm very gladly we're leading this trend right now.
Sherry, this has been very, very educational, very informative. Thank you so much for being a guest on our show today. How can our audience engage with you and your team at Geno Palate? Through website or social media?
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is great conversation. Yeah, but for anyone in the audience interested in learning more about nutritional genomics, just go to our website, please, at the GenoPalate.com. And, I'm happy to share, you can look it up if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will respond in the thread as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Sherry. That's all the time we have today on the Entrepreneurial Mindset community. I'm your host, Ron Murphy. Please be sure to follow us on social media and join in next time for another informative episode.